Alright, welcome back. We are going to talk about Boolean and conditional logic in this video, and what we plan to achieve by the end of this video is that at first we are going to be looking at how we can get user input in Python, and after we are done with that, we'll talk about truthiness, because when you want to talk about Boolean expressions and logic, conditional logic, it has to do with true or false. You set some conditions to know if it's true or if it is false. That is why I had to just give this truthiness or falsiness. And then after that, we are going to see how we can use conditional operators, and then how we can make basic logic. Then let's go further to talk about how we can get user input. There's a built-in function in Python which is called input, and with that we can get input from the user, and we store that in a variable which we create. I know we've not really talked about functions, let alone talking about built-in functions, but this is very simple and you can understand it with this example I'll give us here. So it works like this. You declare a name as a variable. For instance, we want to get a name from the user, so we declare a variable called name so we can understand that, and then we type in the function input, and inside the input we give in something we want to prompt the user to do. In this case, we want the user to enter his name. Then what happens is that this will be presented to the user. Whatever you type in here, enter your name here. That is what will be prompted to the user. And then if the user gives in his name, like for this example here, I've given my name Chinonso Caleb. What will happen is that this name will be stored in this variable here, and if we're to print name, we are going to get what the user has given. So let's see that in code. I'll open my terminal and let me make this bigger for us to see. Okay, Python. Now we're in Python. I'll declare a name like the example I've shown you, and input, we want to get a username, so we say what is your name. We give a space and close it, and we can then close this. So what happens if we press enter? It will prompt the user, asking the user to enter his name, and you see this blinking cursor requesting that you have to type something. So let me say Chinonso and enter. It has been stored in this variable. So if I am to say what is a name now, you'll see we have a name Chinonso which is stored here. I'll go out of this. You can go out of this by typing quit as well, quit with opening and closing braces, and we're out of this. I'll go to my desktop. I'll go into Python course, and in this I want to create a file. Let's call this file user input. With the extension py. Now we can open this in our VS Code. So what we do now is I'll give a variable name. Let's call this name as well, and we want to get a user input. We can, what is your name, and whatever we get here as the input, we can then print something. Welcome plus name. We can do this. This is another way you can concatenate. Okay, if I am to save this, let's try to run this in our terminal and see. Python 3 user input .py. So what is your name? I'll give Caleb now. So you can see it concatenates and it does something with that. Another way we can do this is we can just give a print. If we want this to come on a new line, I'll show you. We can do something like print how are you, and here we say answer. equal input. So if we're to run this, I'll comment this. You comment by holding your command and your slash on the keyboard, your forward slash. You comment something. That means this is not going to run. I want you to see this. Now I'll save and I'll run here. How are you? You can see, unlike this one where you have to give the response on another line, you can on the same line. This one you give the response on a different line. So I can say I am fine. But nothing is going to happen because we did not give a print. So print, we can say answer plus a space. That's okay. So if we save this and run again, how are you? I am fine. So you can see what we have here. So this is how we can get input from the user. Next, we're going to be looking at conditional statements. And when we talk about conditional statements, it's all about checking for conditions. I'll try to explain with this flowchart here on the screen. We have a statement coming in. This is a program, and we have a statement coming in, and there are some conditions here that needs to be checked. If the condition is checked and if it is true, then another statement will be printed, and then it will, after this is done, it will then continue with the code. But if the statement is false, then this will not be printed, it will just continue. So that is what conditional statement is about, and we use the if keyword to do this, to check for conditions. I'll try to show you some more examples so you can see. I'll take, for instance, we have something here which takes the name of someone, and what it does with the name is that it checks its database to see if the name is on the database, and if the name is on the database, it prints out something. For instance, my name is on the database, so what happens here, we'll just check if name is in the database, in this case Caleb, then you're welcome. Otherwise, if another name, Sean, is on the database, what it tells the person, you can go to the next counter. But if the name is checked and it is not in the database, any other name which is checked and it's not in the database, then it prints you are not invited. So this is what conditional statement is about. Now we're going to look at what I just explained in the form of what is called pseudo codes. If we take a look at this is a pseudo code. If it checks some condition, like from that example, if name is correct, that's the name you have given is true, it will do something. This is the example. If name is equal to Caleb, print welcome Caleb. But now I'll tell you something that you should take note of. If you take a look at this, it is not just a single equal sign. A single equal sign will just assign a value to this, but now this is checking if the value here is the same as this one here. If it is the same, then it will perform an operation. Next, the other one is if some condition is true, do something. Otherwise, do another thing. That means it will check this condition. If this condition is true, it will do this. If this condition is false, it will not do whatever we have here. It will skip to this place and do this one. This is an example. Let's take, for instance, you've given a name. It will compare the name. If the name is same as this one, it will print welcome. Otherwise, it will print you are not invited. I believe you get what I'm trying to say. The third one is this. If some condition is true, do something. Otherwise, check another condition. If the other condition is true, do this other thing. Then if it has checked all the conditions and then it's found out that there is a particular one that is false, then it will do the last one. What this is trying to say is that you can check more than 2 conditions. You can even check more than 3 conditions using multiple elif statements in Python. For other languages, instead of elif, they'll use else if, but in Python it is elif. So we have if, elif, and else. This is an example. If name is Caleb, print welcome. If name is Sean, print go to next counter. Else, print you are not invited. Let us take a look at this in code. I'll open my terminal so we can see, and I'll create a file. Let me call this if else. I am still in this folder on my desktop. If I create a file here, if else dot the extension py, telling us it is a Python file, it has been created, and there are other files there. So let's open this in our terminal, in our text editor rather. So here we are. I'll open this here. First of all, I'll declare a name. Let's say we are getting a variable name. Let's say we are getting this name from the user input. What is your name? And then after we've gotten the information from the user, the next thing we're going to check is we check the condition. If name is, that's the name that is given, is, let's take the first one, Caleb, print welcome name. Let's use this here, and this is an F string, so we have to put F here. I'll save this and I'll run in my terminal. I'm still in the working directory, Python code, so I can run my code, Python 3 space the name of the file if else.py, and I run. What is your name? I'll start with a different name. Let's say James. Nothing happens because this is not the name that we've been given. But if I am to do it again and I run with the name that is given, it compares it and says, okay, you're welcome. Now you see, when I did something here, nothing happened. So let us do something that would happen in case this other one does not work. I'll now put something like else, do something, print, still an F string, hello name, sorry you weren't invited. Okay, I'll save this again and then we run again. What is your name? Harita. Hello Harita, sorry you were not invited. Then if we give the good name, welcome Caleb. Now let's take for instance Harita has been invited. How do we include her? We include something called what elif name and then we try again. This is supposed to be name. What is your name? Hi Harita. What is your name? Welcome Caleb. What is your name? I believe you understand what we're doing here. So that is that. Now the elif can be more than one. We can have another one. I'm trying to use something else here, so you can see we can use any of them. It's a matter of our choice. Now I'll run again and I'll just give Jones. So you can see I'll make a space here. Okay, now we are done with this, and that is all we are talking about. But I want to explain something so we don't run into errors. You can see that as we continued in our program, when we put an if statement, we end it with a semicolon. In some languages, instead of semicolon, they would have done something like this, but in Python, if you do something like that, you're referring to a dictionary. So we have to do something like this with a semicolon. And then this indentation is very important. If you omit this, let's see what happens. I'll save and I'll try to run again. You can see it's telling me I'm having an indentation error. We are getting an error underlined here. So if I correct this and I run again, what is your name? It works. That is one thing you need to note here. So let's continue with the video. Next, we're going to look at various truthiness. And when we talk about truthiness, we're talking about of how conditions must resolve to true or false. If you look at what we've been talking about since, you see that if name is Jones, that means true. If this is this, true. Otherwise, it is false. If this is this is true, it prints. This is true, it prints. This is true, it prints. This is false. When it is not true, false, this one will print. So you can see condition statements are about true and false. For instance, if we have something like this, x, if we store a variable 1 into x, then if we say x is 1, it is true. X is 0, it is false. And we can also say, or that means we can resolve it to be truthy or falsy. That's true or false. So let us look at this in code. I'll just quickly open Python here. Python 3, and a is equal to 10. A equal 10. It's true. A equal 5. False. A is 10, true. A is 10, is 5, false. So when we continue in the video, I'll try to tell us the difference between this double equal to and is, and we're going to use them especially when we begin to talk about lists. So let's continue. Next, we're going to look at various comparison operators. So far we've just seen one, which is the double equal sign. So there are a list of them, about 6 in number. This is what we've been looking at since, double equal sign. If a, in this example, a is equal to 1 and b is equal to 1, if a is 1 and b is 1, that's both of them has the same value, it is true. Otherwise, if this symbol means not equal to, if a is b, if a has a value and b has a different value, then I'll try to show us in code even as we work while we're here. A equal 10 equal 10, it's true. 10 equal 5 is false. But if we say 10 not equal to 5, it will be true, because these both of them are not equal, so it's resolving to true. If we store a value a equal 12 and b equal 15, equal 14 rather, a equal b, this will be false. A is not equal to b, this will be true. So that is that for these operators, equal and not equal to. The next one is greater than. It will return true if a value is greater than the other one. In this case, a is 1 and b is 1. That means a is not greater than b, so it will return false. If we look at that here, we'll see a greater than b based on the value we have here. False, because we have a as 12 and b as 14. A is not greater than b. But if we say a less than b, it's going to result to true, which brings us to the next one we have here, less than. It compares to check if it is true or false. But then what we have here is that it will check it greater than or equal to. If that value is greater than that other one or equal to, For instance, we have a value 12 greater than or equal to 15. Let's see, false. That is because 12 is not equal to 15 and it is not greater than 15. But if we have 12 greater than or equal to 12, it's going to result in true, because 12 is equal to 12 and this condition does not work, but because of the fact we combine them, it's true. And if we try something else, looking at the last one here, which says less than or equal to, which will return true if A is less than or equal to B. We see another example here, A less than or equal to B. This will result to true based on what we have here. A is 12, B is 15. So you can see it results to true. Now, how can we use this? I'll come out of this again and we are going to build a simple program in this case to try to explain them. We're going to make an app which checks your age to see if you are eligible to vote or not. I think that is a very simple app where we can make using comparison operators and the rest of them. So we're going to call this file So we open this here. The first thing is get the age from the user. Then next we compare the age and see, check if the user is eligible to vote or not. So that is what we are going to do. Let's start. Age, we declare age and we get an input from the user. How old are you? Okay. Now when we've gotten the age, we now check if the age is greater than or equal to 18, which is the age that is eligible to vote. We print hello, you are eligible to vote. We can add something here like taking name as well. Name equal input what is your name. Let's put this ahead above the other one. Okay, then we can do something here with the age, with the name we got from the user. I'm just trying to add some other things to this place so we can see what we can do with it. Else, then we can print hello, name, you are not eligible to vote. So we can try to see if this will work. We save this and let's open the terminal. And voting.py. What is your name? Caleb. How old are you? 12. And we get an error. Okay, let's see what the error is. So let's look at this error and try to solve it. It is telling us that though we're going to have a section which is dedicated to errors and debugging, what it's telling us is that we cannot use this on strings, we can only use it on ints. But if we look, we took a value which is an integer, but then why is it telling us it is a string? That is because in most cases when we take this from user, it sees it as a string. So in order to solve this problem, we have to do what is called type conversion. We are trying to convert this from string to integer. So if we just put this here and we try again, what is your name? Caleb. How old are you? 12. So you can see it has taken it. Hello Caleb, you are not eligible to vote. So you can see just a little something like this can create problem in your code. So when we get to debugging, we'll try to see most of these things and how we can be able to solve these problems. Next up, let's try again using another age. What is your name? This one, she is Margaret. How old is Margaret? Margaret is 35. Hello Margaret, you are eligible to vote. So this is one thing we can do with if else and the comparison operators. We can go further to add something to this, saying come back in, and we do some mathematical operation here. Age 18 minus age years time. So what happens here is he checks his name and then it tells him or her how many years time the person would be eligible to vote. So let's see how this will work. We open let's clear this. What is your name? David. How old is David? Let's say 3 years. So you can see, hello David, you're not eligible to vote. Come back in 15 years time. Let's try another age. What is your name? Precious. How old is Precious? 17. Hello Precious, you are not eligible to vote. Come back in 1 year's time. You know this is not correct, but we're not looking into that now, although there is a way we can solve that, but let's not go into that now. Next, we can then see Garrett. How old is Garrett? 55 years. You are eligible to vote. So I believe you understand this.